listening to the Thom Hartmann
Welcome back.
program.
Thom Hartmann here with you. Here is the story that everybody should be talking about today. I mean, really, every American needs to know this. Germany just banned college tuition. Now, prior to 2006, I lived in Germany 86, 87, and there was no college tuition then. College was free. In 2006, and I believe that was the election that brought Merkel in. I could be wrong. But, you know, Merkel is a conservative. She's sort of a Bob Dole conservative, but she's a conservative, the Christian Democratic Party. And in 2006, Germany actually allowed tuition. They allowed colleges to start charging. I mean, it was only the maximum tuition in the country is about $4,500 a year, but they allowed it. And now, I think it was Lower Saxony, now the last of the German states to allow college tuition, colleges to charge tuition, has banned the practice. So in Germany, because they have a national health care system, you cannot go broke because you get sick. It doesn't happen in the country. And you cannot go broke or graduate from college broke because you went to college. This has to do with the commons. Let me take this a step beyond just college, because there's all these areas that have to do with the commons where conservatives have been hell-bent for leather to bore holes into our commons to create opportunities for profit. When the things that have to do with our commons are better done by government. This is why government is created. Ronald Reagan wouldn't want you to know this. You're not going to hear this on right-wing talk radio. Now, you will understand this if you take any government class or any history class. But the purpose of government is to administer the commons for the public benefit, for the public good, for the general welfare, as our Constitution says, in 2 or 3 different places. So here now we have this article in the New York Times, doctors find barriers to sharing digital medical records. You and I, with our tax dollars, have given $24 billion. $24 billion to hospitals, doctors' offices, and by pass-through, virtually all of it went to companies, for-profit corporations, the largest of which is discussed at some length in this article in the New York Times, Doctors Find Barriers to Sharing Digital Medical Records by Julie Cresswell. It's called Epic. It was founded by Judith Faulkner, who is now worth over $2 billion. See, you can make serious money when you are doing the business of the commons for profit. But here's the problem: as for example, as Julie Cresswell writes in today's New York Times, almost 18 months after the Epic system was installed at Unity Point Health St. Luke's Hospital in Sioux City, Iowa, physicians there still cannot transmit a patient care document to doctors 2 miles south at Mercy Medical Center, which uses a system made by another major player in the field, the Cerner Corporation. They also note separately, through its maintenance contracts and other agreements, Epic charges a fee to send data to non-Epic systems. And the woman who started this company is worth $2.3 billion, according to the New York Times, which raises the question. And she makes the point, the Ms. Faulkner, the woman who started the company, she makes the point the government didn't establish any standards for electronic medical records. They mandated them, but they didn't establish any standards. So we did. And our standards at Epic, in the case of this company, are thus and so, right? These are our standards. And it's secure, and it works well, and if you're within the Epic system, you can talk to each other, but if you're outside the Epic system, we're going to charge you extra to transmit your data, to modify, convert it, make it compatible, or you just can't do it. Now, this, she is absolutely right in saying the government didn't establish standards, and this is this post-Reagan belief that somehow standards of regulation are evil or bad. and then somehow the marketplace is going to solve the problem. Well, eventually the marketplace will solve this problem. There'll be one company left standing. And now that the Defense Department is about to put out an $11 billion contract for digitizing medical records to a private firm, and in all probability it'll go to Epic, which is, again, I'm not trashing this company. My point is that if we had said, if our federal government had said, here's the standards. You have to have this level of security. You have to have this level of intercommunication ability, whatever the word is, communication with other systems. Or if we had just done it ourselves, if the federal government had simply established this and said, it's here's the system. It's like Social Security. Social Security has never failed to pay a check. The IRS is actually quite efficient at collecting taxes. The Department of Defense, you can complain all day long, and I will not stop you about 700 military bases and spending more than every other country in the world on defense. But the fact of the matter is that the Department of Defense knows how to get things done. Government can work. Government does work. Our public schools are now demonstrably better than our private schools, our charter schools. So there is a time and place in the commons for government. Why do we have a brand new billionaire? Why do we have a woman who's worth $2 billion because she's doing something that we should be doing? We, the people, should be doing. Our government should be doing. Or at least the government should be establishing standards so that, in the lack of standards, what you end up with is whatever company owns the biggest platform ends up owning the marketplace because they're building walls around their system, which all of these companies are trying to do. They're all trying to say, we have this proprietary system. You have to use our system if you want to have, electronic medical records. And sometimes they scan documents, sometimes they digitize documents, sometimes they manually enter the information, and it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. Right now, something like 14% of doctors' offices can actually communicate this stuff. I mean, this is bizarre. And what it does is it creates essentially monopolies. We see the same thing with our voting machines. If we're going to use technology for voting, and we started out back in the 50s or 60s with these mechanical voting machines, and you could literally walk around the back of the machine and see the gears turning and see the counters incrementing. I did as a little kid. My mom was checked people off the list and said, here, go vote. So if we're going to have machines, let's have transparent machines and let's have government-owned machines. But no, we've got to privatize this. And then with the Help America Vote Act, George W. Bush, 2002, we've got to give billions of dollars to these for-profit corporations, Diebold, ES&S, et cetera, via the states, federal money just channeled through, so that the beating heart of democracy is in the hands of private for-profit corporations. Our health systems are in the hands of private for-profit corporations. Our prisons increasingly are in the hands of private for-profit corporations. This is the libertarian paradise that the Koch brothers and the right-wingers and the Republican Party have promised us, and it doesn't work.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
We'll be back with more of the news of the day. Oh, the trade policy with Europe. This is falling apart, too. I'll get into that. And your calls right after. 20 minutes past the hour. Thom Hartmann here with you. Welcome back. Dennis in Elmhurst, Illinois. Hey, Dennis, you wanted to talk about Germany?
Yeah. In this country, we have a progressive tax based on income. Does Germany have a progressive tax based on income?
Yes.
Or is it a flat tax?
No. It's a progressive tax that It's been a couple of years since I've looked at the numbers. The last time I did, I think the top tax rate was 56%.
And in this country, it's what, under 40?
Yeah, it's 36 and change, 36.9, I think.
All right.
And if you earn and in the United States, if you earn your money with money as opposed to by working for a living, in other words, a brain surgeon who makes $400,000 a year will pay 36% on the last 100,000 or so that they make. But Mitt Romney, somebody who makes their money by investing, they pay a maximum either 15 or 20%. I think the capital gains have now gone up to 20%, but they pay a maximum 20% income tax rather than that 36% income tax. And here's a poignant story about this, because if some right winger says, oh yeah, it's Germany has free education, free health care, but my taxes are going to go explode. There was first of all, the taxes of average working people don't explode, and secondly, they have quite high wages there. The average industrial wage in Germany is $54 an hour. So
wow.
even if this is like what Volkswagen pays in Germany, right? And it's one of the reasons why they're building factories here in the United States for the U.S. market. But the point is that there was a year or so ago, I was maybe longer than that, I was watching, I'm pretty sure it was Bloomberg. They have a show that I used to be able to catch. In fact, it must have been when I lived in Portland, because it was, we catch it on satellite TV, and it was it was one of these kind of overnight shows out of Singapore. And the interviewer was an American who was in Singapore, or maybe Hong Kong, one or the other. And he was interviewing a German businessman who was a very, very wealthy German businessman. And he said, the interviewers, and they were talking about, the economy and just, all this macroeconomic stuff. And at one point, the interviewer, this kid from America, this reporter from America, said, how much do you pay in income taxes, by the way? And the German businessman said, well, I think I pay around 55%, 56%, or whatever it was. I don't remember the exact number, but it was in that neighborhood. It was steep. And on the high end of my income, I mean, of course, the first couple $100,000, I pay much less on income taxes on that because it's a progressive system. And this reporter said, well, how can you deal with that? I mean, isn't that terrible? And the guy said, no, it's fine with me. I have plenty of money. And they went on to another topic, and then the reporter came back to it, and he said, I still don't get how you're not angry about all the income taxes you're paying. And the guy said, well, our country works. We look out for each other, and I have no problem paying these income taxes. I have a very good income. And so then they changed topics again. And then a third time, this reporter comes back, and he says to this German businessman, he says, I still don't get it. Why are you not furious? Where are all the other people like you who are multimillionaires, who earn millions of dollars a year, who are paying 56% in income taxes? Why are you not organizing a tax revolt in Germany? And the guy looked at him like, what kind of idiot are you? And he said, I do not want to be a rich man in a poor country.
Yeah.
And that just stopped the conversation.
My right-wing friends, every time I bring this up, about Scandinavian countries and not going broke when you're sick,
right?
Or getting an education and not coming out of college with, $200,000 in student loans.
Right.
They all say, well, yeah, but if the government handled all that and it was all free, our taxes would be ridiculous.
No, in all probability, the people you're talking to, their taxes would not be any different. I mean, we have a top 36% tax rate. I'm guessing that anybody you meet in a bar is not paying that. I mean, you've got to earn over $400,000 or over $300,000, whatever it is, to start bumping up against that tax rate. So
if we went with free college and let's say universal health care and it was all not for profit based,
right?
Do you think our taxes would then be in that neighborhood, a progressive tax with a top end of about that 55%? I
think it would work, and in fact, if you look, you'll find the background and the research for this in a book I wrote called Rebooting the American Dream. But Larry Beinhardt did some really, really great research on this. And what he found is that whenever, and not just in the United States, all over the world, whenever the top tax rate on really rich people is over 50%, then you have a stable economy. The economy cools down. Not cools down like it gets bad, but you don't have bubbles and bursts. And whenever the top tax rate goes below 50%, then you get these 10 to 15-year cycles of boom, bust, boom, bust, boom, bust. And the reason why is quite simply explained. It's very easy to understand. It's that when people are paying 40, 50, 60% income tax on the, they don't pay that on the first couple $100,000, but they start paying that on the, or it used to be back, before Reagan, it might be the first million, you don't pay that. But after that, you start paying this high income tax rate. At that point, they start treating their money like it's really precious. It was hard to get that money. And so they invested very carefully and very cautiously. You drop that income tax rate down to 28%, as Ronald Reagan did, or even as low as 30%, as long as it's below 50%, 36%. What happens is that the money is easy to get, right? And so with all this hot money that was easily acquired, people will throw it into risky investments, and that's how you get bubbles. And so not only would raising the top tax rate not affect anybody you're going to meet in a bar, it's only going to affect the top 0.1%, but it also will stabilize the economy. And if we were to roll back the Reagan tax cut, we could easily pay for college education for everybody in this country, and we could pay for a national health care system. It's very, very simple. And with regard to Social Security, you want to stabilize our national pension system for the all-time, world without end, amen, simply lift the cap. Right now, anybody who makes over $130,000 or $118,000, whatever it is, it's in that neighborhood, anybody who makes more than that, after they've paid Social Security taxes on that first $118,000, their tax rate goes to zero. It's the opposite of a progressive tax rate. Instead of going up, it goes to zero. So if you simply made Social Security a flat tax, the stuff that Steve Forbes talks about, then the Social Security program would not just be solvent forever, but it would be solvent with enough extra money that you could substantially raise Social Security benefits. Dennis, thank you for the call. We'll be back.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 866-987-THOM.
Once again, this is not rocket science. Germany is doing this, as most European countries do, and they are not going down in flames. They're doing very well, thank you.